Welcome back to Cosmic Circus Reviews. Today we're talking about Jawan. Hell yes, we are talking about the Jawan on the Cosmic Circus YouTube channel. Initially, I was going to do a little review of I Am Groot Season 2, but there's literally nothing to talk about other than it's a good show. The Watcher episode kind of sucks, but the rest of it is pretty cute. There you go. That's my review. All right. We're going to talk about something with a little bit more substance this time around, and it's Jawan, which is the latest film from Atlee. It has released in IMAX theaters worldwide this weekend alongside with The Nun 2. And on the moment it opened, I went to the theater to watch Jawan because, believe it or not, I am a huge fan of Indian cinema and Shah Rukh Khan as a whole. I think Shah Rukh Khan is one of the greatest actors. And I don't just mean Indian actors. I mean one of the greatest actors who has ever graced the silver screen in films like DDLJ, right? In films like Dawn, in films like Chak De India, Om Shanti Om. Recently, he was in Pathan, which was incredible. And now he's in Jawan. And it is one of the most insane films I have seen all year, if not the most insane film I have seen all year. I'm going to get into it. But first and foremost, I am going to say that this review will contain spoilers for this movie. And with a movie like this, it is best that you do not watch or read anything from it beforehand. The only thing that the trailers and the promotional material for this movie essentially said was that Shah Rukh Khan was going to play multiple characters. And the film, the trailer, showed that. It showed Shah Rukh Khan, play, a bald guy, a dude with a porn stash. I'm sorry. Some guy with long hair, a younger version of himself, perhaps. I don't know. It was all very confusing. And when I was watching the trailer, I'm like, yeah, this looks great, but I have no idea what it's about, and that's good. And yeah, you really wouldn't want to read a damn thing about it. But I am going to spoil the movie because I really want to talk about some things. Like, I wrote a review for this one. It's going to come out eventually, but it has no spoilers. But this one, I'm like, I got to go all in because this movie is incredible. And it might just be my favorite movie of the year. I'm going to say this like, I'm not going to be afraid to say this. Like, this is my personal favorite movie of the year right now. Like, I had such an incredible time watching this movie in IMAX. It was it was a pretty special experience. Now, unfortunately, not a lot of Western moviegoers know who Shah Rukh Khan is, and it's an absolute shame. But what you need to know about Shah Rukh Khan is that before Pathan came out in January, his career was at the lowest of lows, right? He had taken a almost 5-year-long break from acting because his recent stint of films before that were terrible. They were critical and commercial duds. And his last movie, Zero, in 2018, before he took his hiatus, bombed so bad it was the worst opening and total gross of Shah Rukh Khan's career. And so it forced him to take a career hiatus. And during the COVID pandemic, he planned a comeback. And that comeback started with Pathan, which is an incredible movie. And now it really kind of cements itself with Jawan, in which it's pretty much like a greatest hits mashup of why Shah Rukh Khan is one of the greatest actors who lives right now, right? One of the greatest living actors today. It's part of the reason why this movie is so good and why anybody, even people that are unfamiliar with the work of Shah Rukh Khan, should seek this film out as a gateway to watch DDLJ, to watch Bazigar, to watch, Om Shanti Om, Chennai Express, which I thought it was his last good movie before all of his bad films, and then Pathan. But I think Jawan is his best film since Chennai Express. It is, oh my goodness, it is incredible. It is just, you have to trust me on this, man. This movie is insane in like every good possible every good possible way, right? It takes so many wild directions within its 170-minute long runtime that even if you think you've started to figure the whole plot all out, right, it just takes one little sharp turn to completely subvert your expectation, then you're completely winded, and then here's a really insane action scene to wind you even more and make you go completely nuts. The audience that I was with, man, oh my goodness, as soon as Shah Rukh Khan enters, what's really fascinating about this whole, resurrection era of his career is that in Pathan, he's the way that they frame his return to the screen is very eloquent in the sense that he's got a beard, he's got long hair, he's gruff as hell, right? He's just like extremely, like he feels extremely worn out, but then he gets out of that state and starts to kick a bunch of ass. And when you see that scene in that movie, it's like he's never left the screen, right? It's like he's never left Indians and the world's collective imaginations that he charmed so well in so many great Bollywood blockbusters, right? That's why he is the king of Bollywood. He is the most profitable star in the history of Indian cinema. And at the time that Pathan came out in January, it was the highest grossing movie of his career. And now Jawan is going to probably be the highest grossing movie of his career. So, he's pretty consistent in setting records for himself and for the films that he is starring in. But this movie's incredible. This movie's absolutely incredible. I'm going to say this like 1,000 times. All right. So the movie starts. Pathan was like the resurrection of the king, but here it's like literally he's crawling back from the dead. Right. The movie begins in a secluded village where we see a man bandaged up from the top down. Right. And he's we don't really know who he is and what he does, but some mercenaries start attacking the village, and then they pray to God for a savior, and then boom. There he is, Shah Rukh Khan. There's lighting in the background, right? The lighting hits. There he is with a spear. He starts killing a bunch of people. He grabs a hammer. Boom! He kills someone in this extremely gratuitous and maximalist fashion. Everybody in the auditorium, 90% sold out. They went completely nuts. Some people had their flashes on. Usually, you say turn off your phone, but here it's like, it's fine. Like, yes, it's a celebration. And here he is just going at it. And then he goes, who am I? And it's like, oh, because we don't know who he is, right? We don't know who this guy is. He's just kicking ass. He's bandaged up. And then at some point his bandages catches fire, man. Just catches fire. And then boom, there he is, and Shah Rukh Khan, he's back, everybody goes nuts. And then he says, who am I? The film cuts to 30 years later. 30 years later. and then we get the main plot in motion. This movie's incredible. We get the main plot in motion. So the film starts with a hostage situation in which a man named Vikram Rathore, who is played by Shah Rukh Khan, takes a whole subway train hostage, threatens to blow it up if his demands aren't met. Essentially, he acts as a sort of Robin Hood of India, attacking directly hurting the establishment by threatening to kill people, even if his intention is to not kill anybody, right? But he wants to send a message out to the people in power that are controlling the system and manipulating it for their benefit and not the benefit of Indians. There is a scene in which the health minister in the movie brags about the fact that they have the best healthcare system in the world, the most advanced hospitals out there. And essentially the film always the film cuts to the actual best healthcare system in the world / hospitals in the country, where it's completely run down. There's actually no equipment. Everything is unsanitary. It's dirty. Kids are dying left and right. And then he's like, well, I'm convinced that if you shoot me now and you send me to a hospital, I will receive the very best care. And so one of the members of Vikram Rathore's team actually shoots the minister and sends him to the actual world-class healthcare system and hospital, essentially to send a message that healthcare in India is an absolute shambles. The movie is much more politically charged than I thought it was going to be. And in my opinion, that's not necessarily a problem because it never goes into this sort of jingoistic, extremely patriotic type of territory that some international films do, especially in China, right? Chinese films are amazingly jingoistic, and sometimes even The Wandering Earth 2, which is one of the most, which is one of the highest grossing films of that country, is propaganda. Like, it's straight up propaganda. Like, you can't say it's nothing but that. Like, that movie started out pretty good. It had a great action scene in the beginning, and then it just reverted into complete jingoism. And it really, really, really sucked. It's like a 250-hour long movie. So yeah, but this movie is not a purely jingoistic affair, and it's not. It doesn't feel like propaganda. It actually actively sends a message that everyone, even if you're not from India, can relate to in terms of the establishment, how the establishment controls everything and manipulates the system for their personal gain, right? When the health minister of India says that the hospitals are great, that the healthcare system is really has been revitalized from the bottom up, everything is fine. We have world-class healthcare. You can translate that message from, for example, sorry, I live here, but you can translate that message from what the health minister of Quebec is saying, that, oh my God, we have such a great healthcare system. Everyone will have access to a family doctor, which is complete horse crap. All right, I don't want to be political or anything like that, but it's true. Like every public figure will brag about their record, going, yes, we did this for healthcare, we did this for the environment, for agriculture, for farmers and everything, but it's not true, right? I mean, in terms of here, our healthcare system is a complete joke. I'm one of the lucky ones who got a family doctor after 3 years of waiting, after applying for the waiting list in 2020 during COVID. I thought, man, I'm going to wait a long time. 3 years later, I have a family doctor. But people have been waiting for 5, 6, even 10 years for a family doctor, and it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. I was, luckily, a patient left that clinic, and now I have a family doctor. But it's the stroke of luck just to get a family doctor in this province. It's a joke, right? And here, the film exposes a number of problems that I think are resonant to not just Indians, but also everybody around the world can relate to, what these crummy politicians are doing to us. And it's, it never reverts into what I would call extreme patriotism or, pure propaganda. It's not that. It's not that. And it's a message that is, in my opinion, done right and done in a way that feels prescient for the film, for the context of the film, right? In a way that feels urgent. Excuse me, I'm going to repeat that. In a way that feels urgent for the context of the movie. And you have Shah Rukh Khan delivering one of the most impassioned monologues I have seen from his career in a very long time about, the state of the world and why we need to hold more importance to voting the people that are there to serve us and to serve the greater good instead of themselves. So yeah, it was a rather politically charged movie, and I didn't expect it to be, but it never feels, its politics never feels forced, and it never feels out of place in this film. And so you have this political hero in Vikram Rathore who wants to liberate the people of India from the establishment's tyranny, essentially. And then you have a cop played by Nayantara, or Nayantara. If I've mispronounced any names, I would like to apologize right now. She doesn't know, however, that Vikram Rathore, the bald guy who's been taking some ministers hostages and demanding things from the establishment, is actually not named Vikram Rathore. His name is Azad, and he is actually a prison guard. He's a prison warden. Excuse me. He runs a women's prison in India, and he's using some of the inmates to establish these elaborate hostage situations, right? In which he directly attacks and calls out the establishment, because this is where it gets complicated. As we will learn eventually in the film, his father, who is actually named Vikram Rathore, who is also played by Shah Rukh Khan, was a victim of the establishment's failure, okay? And now this is where I'm going to spoil a lot of stuff. If you've not seen this movie, do not watch this, go in completely blind. But yeah, so essentially Vikram Rathore, the real Vikram Rathore, was a soldier. The film is called Jawan, which means soldier. So he was a soldier, and he was on a mission with his team, and his guns that were supposed to work didn't work. They jammed, and it killed pretty much every single member of his team except for him and a couple of and maybe another person. And so when he comes back, he directly calls out the arms dealer who the army, I guess, is partnering with, and his name is Kali, and he's played by Vijay Sethupathi, I think that's his name is. I apologize if I've mispronounced the names. Yeah, his name is Vijay Sethupathi. Excuse me. So Kali is the arms dealer who partners with the army, and all of his guns don't work, and he thinks, well, he did it on purpose, right? And so he demonstrates to Kali in court that his guns don't work by directly pointing his gun at him and starting to shoot at him. And of course, the gun jams. And he's like, this is what you did to us. But Kali takes it personally because the Indian government now will blacklist him from any future arms deals and directly attacks Vikram's household. And so he attacks Vikram, he kidnaps him, and he attacks his wife, Aishwarya, played by Deepika Padukone, who's a frequent collaborator of Shah Rukh Khan. He attacks him and his wife. His wife gets arrested and gets sentenced to execution, is what I wanted to say. But she's pregnant. She is pregnant with a kid. And so she cannot be hanged. That kid's name is what? Azad. And so this entire movie is Azad seeking revenge against Kali, who directly works with many high-profile government officials, right? He plays in the hands of the government, plays in his hands, right? He basically controls the government, which is what the movie attempts to insinuate. And so he wants to seek out revenge from Kali for allegedly killing his father, but his father's alive. He's the bandage man that we saw at the beginning of the film. And his mother, who eventually does get hanged after his child turns 5. And so now the rest of the film is his father, right, Vikram, who shows up at some point when it's a very elaborate plot, when he tells him, when he is told that his son is alive, right, and he remembers who he is, and Azad fighting alongside each other to battle Kali and the establishment. Yeah, it's a lot of movie. It is a lot of movie. It's 170 minutes long, but it is one of the most balls to the walls, energetic action films I have seen in ages, man. Like, not even John Wick Chapter 4, which I think is another impeccable movie, goes to the elaborate heights that this film does. Because, John Wick Chapter 4 is essentially just a 2-hour and 40-minute long film of just consistent, very long action sequences that are amazing to watch. But the film has very minimal plot. This one is all about plot. And at the beginning, I was like, this is a little complicated to follow. I have no idea what's going on, right? But it's purposeful in the sense that it starts to introduce certain elements before other key plot points of the scenes that you're watching are revealed, so that when Vikram Rathore actually shows up in that pre-interval sequence, chomping on his cigar, right, with this huge-ass weapon, starts killing everybody, and then I love this movie. And then I can't say this. Like, he at some point during this like insane fight where he just goes after everybody, right? He has a cigar in his mouth. He puts the cigar in his mouth, starts to blow smoke at people, and then takes the cigar out Take the cigar out, and again, it puts it in his mouth again. It's incredible. It's so bad. Oh my god! It's like when you are receiving images that are extremely over the top, right, and just so cool to watch, your initial reaction shouldn't be, oh well, it's implausible, right? It's impossible that this guy just like lit a cigar. He lights a freaking cigar with his boots. He's riding a freaking motorcycle. He like literally grazes his boots on the street. That produces flares. The flares go up in the air. They land on his cigar and then gets lit. It's not the most incredibly badass image in the history of cinema. If you watch something like this, there's nothing improbable about it. It just looks, I mean, by all laws of physics, it shouldn't work, right? Like if I do this in real life, I ride a motorcycle, I put my feet on the street, I'm gonna crash, right? I'm not gonna light my cigar, I'm gonna crash. But because it's a film, right? Because it is fiction, we buy into it because it looks cool, right? When Dom Toretto in Fast X jumps on a freaking crane, right? Crashes his car in a crane, which it causes the crane and the boulder to hit the bridge, right? In Fast X, it's not. It doesn't defy gravity. It just looks cool. It looks freaking cool. And this entire film, Jawan, has so many cool looking action sequences that my mind couldn't even process as I was watching it. It is one of the most creative and one of the most electric things that you will see all year. I promise you, even if you're not well versed in Indian politics, you don't need to, right? You don't need to be versed in Indian politics or in the language of Indian cinema to appreciate what this film does and what it does so well. Like, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It is, I mean, incredibly cool to watch from beginning to end. It's just amazing. And all the action sequences are so good to watch on an IMAX screen, especially if you are watching it with a sold-out crowd that goes nuts every single time Shah Rukh Khan does something cool, and he does something cool like so many times. There is this highway chase scene, right, that I briefly talked about in where he's riding a motorcycle. Best action scene I've seen all year. No cap. Best action scene I've seen all year. This whole thing is so insane. I can't even explain it properly. Like my brain is still processing it. It's so insane. Like me talking about it wouldn't do it justice. And then the finale, oh my goodness, when father and son fight off Kali is one of the craziest climaxes I have seen possibly ever. I kid you not. This is a movie where you literally sit back, relax, and enjoy the madness because it is mental. This entire thing is completely mental. Shah Rukh Khan plays a bunch of iterations of Azad and Vikram, but it never feels confusing and it never feels unrealistic that Shah Rukh Khan is 57 years old. He plays father and son. They never de-age him. They don't de-age Azad. I don't think they de-age Azad. Anyways, he looks good, man. He looks real good. At some point, he goes, he discovers the mother of the daughter that he's been sort of mentoring. The mother is Nayantara's character, who's a police officer looking for Vikram Rathore. And he gets extremely nervous because he's like, oh shit, I'm gonna get caught. And he goes, she asks him who he is, and he says, I'm very hot. And I'm like, yes, you are. Yes, you are extremely hot. Everyone's hot in this movie, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but it's true. Shah Rukh Khan is extremely hot. He's 57 years old. He looks just as good as he did in DDLJ. Nayantara looks insanely good. And Deepika Padukone, of course. I mean, we know how amazing she looks. I'm sorry. Like, why does everybody look hot in Shah Rukh Khan pictures? I have no idea. But it's the whole thing even more enjoyable when they do cool things, right? When you are in action sequences and you are seeing them just do the coolest thing imaginable. When SRK fights Nayantara, he's wearing half a mask, right? And they're fighting together, and that whole set piece is just goes nuts because there are so many explosions in the background. They're fighting 1v1. The camera keeps moving. It's just you don't see that in Hollywood pictures, and that's what makes these movies so special to me, at least. But especially when they're good, because there's a lot of Indian movies that are very bad, that are very poor. Especially Bollywood, after COVID, most Bollywood movies were terrible. Indian cinema received international recognition when RRR came out, and it won an Oscar. But that film is from Tollywood. It's a Telugu language film, right? So Tollywood was celebrating, and I guess India was also celebrating when RRR came out and won an Oscar. But Bollywood was in a total shambles, right? Shamshera was terrible. I like Brahmastra, but a lot of people didn't like that movie. I mean, Adipurush, that's another one that I didn't watch, but like the trailer came out, everyone was like, this looked awful. And even me, I was like, God, this looks terrible. I'm not gonna watch that. And then the movie came out, it received I think it has like an 8% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, yeah. Bollywood is in total shambles right now. But Shah Rukh Khan is literally keeping it alive. And he gives one of the best performances I've seen from him in ages. Like possibly his best performance. Chennai Express was his last good movie, but in terms of performance, possibly his best since Chakra India. And what a performance he gives! What a performances, right? He gives in this. I mean, the two father and son, you buy into it. You buy into both iterations of the characters. You buy into every single facet of his characters. And his comedic timing is just impeccable, right? I've talked about how badass he looks all the time, how insanely cool the action sequences are, how the chemistry that he has with Nayantara is great, and with Deepika Padukone. If you've seen any films, Om Shanti, you got to watch Om Shanti Om, right? If you've not seen it. But even if earlier this year you saw Pathan, you knew how great their chemistry is. But what's really special about this film from Shah Rukh Khan's performance is how much fun he's having, man. He is such an amazing showman. When Pathan came out, there was a journalist, I forget his name, he called Shah Rukh Khan's India's Tom Cruise. But I think it's a very offensive and rather distasteful comment that you can make on Shah Rukh Khan, because Tom Cruise can't do what Shah Rukh Khan does, and Shah Rukh Khan can't do what Tom Cruise does. They're both very different in terms of acting style and showmanship, right? The only thing that they have in common is that they've both had box office bombs and successes. That's it. Just like any other actor, basically. But Shah Rukh Khan operates in this movie in Jawan on a whole nother level. He consistently engages the audience into the film, right? He looks at them directly in the camera, makes references to some of his past work, some well-known Indian films and movie stars. He also indirectly or directly tells the audience to clap at some occasions. At some point, he says in the film, are you not clapping? The audience that I was with started to clap. Who was he talking to? The people in the train or the audience? Maybe both. Doesn't matter. People are receptive to what he does, right? When he looks at them with a smile in the camera, right? Literally, he looks at the audience with a smile going, hey, I'm back. You know, people start going crazy because he knows when to involve the audience in the picture. And he also knows when to pull a little bit and provide some emotional depth and complexity to the movie. And that's why his performance in this film is impeccable. The comedic timing. Oh my God, he is a king of comedic timing. This guy, I mean, every single time he says something funny, it is so perfectly well timed that the whole theater, even me, started to laugh, right? The bad guy, Kali, in the present day has a very, white beard, long white hair. And so he doesn't remember who he is, Vikram. Vikram doesn't remember who Kali is. And so Kali goes, who am I? Do you remember me? And he goes, Santa Claus? Basically. And so at that moment, everybody started clapping. Everybody started going nuts because he knows exactly when to elicit laughter out of his audience, but also when to elicit tears out of them. There are some scenes that are very difficult to watch, not only through its harrowing images, right? There's this whole sequence where a doctor who now works for Azad's team, has been sentenced to prison by the health director for allegedly being drugged during a hospital shift that killed essentially 60 some odd kids from encephalitis. But the truth was they lacked an oxygen supply and they all died because of the health director's incompetence. He did not want to send oxygen tanks to the hospital. That scene is very hard to watch because you're seeing kids dying, or other sequences later on in the film involving Vikram's relationship with Aishwarya are very, 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 very difficult to watch because we're seeing her raising her child, knowing that she will be hanged once he turns 5. And then when he eventually turns 5, the conversation that she has with him, right, is extremely powerful. And you could hear the tears in the theater. And there are some specific moments that, honestly, as a viewer, I was about to shed a tear. Because I was very involved in the story and how powerful the messaging was and how just incredible the performances from its actors were. So he knows when to thrill people, right? When to hook them further into the story, when to make them laugh a little bit and have some fun, right? And when to make them cry, when to make them think about what they have just seen. He is an incredible. There is no one like him. You can name me right now 10 other Indian stars, right? And I'll tell you that they do not possess the talent that he does. Shah Rukh Khan is one of a kind, right? Not just in the Indian film industry, in the film industry, period. He is a one of a kind movie star, right? And the way that he can hold the audience's attention throughout the movie, through the characters that he keeps playing, is, in my opinion, a testament to just how magnetic he is and how big of a star he has become throughout the years. And every single time there was a twist or there was a reveal, my reaction wasn't, oh, this is really improbable, this is getting way too complicated. No, it was, oh my God. And the funny thing about this movie is that you can see everything coming a mile away, right? You can pretty much figure it out by the time it gets to the final thing. But even then, you're still impressed by how it manages to fool you, to make you go, well, maybe that's not the case. Oh, wait, it's actually the case. Look at that. Look at that. And throughout the entire film, my reaction was, oh, I should have seen this coming a mile away. Basically, it wasn't that. It was, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this just changed everything. Oh shit, this just changed everything. Oh my God, this is one of the greatest action scenes I've ever seen. No, this is one of the greatest action scenes I've ever seen. It is just such a spectacular movie. And it's such a special movie also, because This is a film that for Indians, they haven't seen Shah Rukh Khan like this very long time. Yes, Pathan, yes. But Pathan was a YRF spy universe film in that ecosystem of movies, right? This one is a Shah Rukh Khan movie. The film doesn't work without it, right? Or won't be as good without it. If you put Prabhas in his place, it won't be as good. He's not that good. I'm sorry. This is my hot take, but it's true. Bahubali 1, not great. Bahubali 2 is great, but not because of him. Anyways, I want to stay on topic. Shah Rukh Khan is a one-of-a-kind talent. Every single time he is on screen, which is all the time, he will bedazzle you in ways that you've never seen him like this before. Or even if you were not really that enthused in the film, you have never seen him like this in a very long time. I guarantee it. And I think people should celebrate the fact that he is always going to be the king of Bollywood, no matter what. No matter what. And he has successfully reclaimed his throne after Pathan and after this. Now he's going to be in Tiger 3, which is going to come out on November. It's supposed to be billed as a cameo, probably a scene like Salman Khan in Pathan. But when Tiger versus Pathan actually comes out, he'll obliterate the box office again. But here's the thing. Here's what you need to remember. Shah Rukh Khan is not going anywhere. He is not going nowhere. He is the king of Bollywood for a reason. And when you watch this movie, you will know why. Even if you've never seen any of his films before, you instantly know why people love it. And I saw this on social media. Someone said Shah Rukh Khan doesn't make movies, he makes festivals. You know, sometimes he's made bad movies. Maybe it was his fault, maybe it wasn't his fault. But when he makes a good movie, and when I mean a good movie, right? A damn good movie, yeah, it's a festival. You should just type on Twitter. I'm never gonna call it X. Okay, I'm not calling Twitter X. On Twitter, type Jawan, first day, first show. And you will see some videos of cinemas being packed to the brim in India, right? People were impressed by Barbenheimer packing theaters. Man, theaters are never packed like this ever in North America. Like, this is on a whole other level. And this is just for one movie, right? One movie starring the great Shah Rukh Khan. People were literally lining up at like 5 in the morning to see the film first. It's incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And I think even if you were not well versed in Indian cinema, even if you were not well versed in the different industries of Indian cinema and in Shah Rukh Khan, you will still come out of it going, "Oh my goodness, this movie was amazing." And I would think so. I highly recommend you guys go check it out. You know, Hollywood is in total shambles right now due to their unwillingness of paying their actors and writers fairly. But Hollywood has been in shambles even before the strikes, because India and other countries are making films far better than they do in terms of visual style, in terms of acting prowess, in terms of social themes, right? And in terms of a complete cinematic experience. Yes, it's long, right? It's almost 3 hours long, but you never feel it, the runtime in front of you. This is, in my opinion, the best movie I've seen this year. I will champion it for a very long time. I know we're in award season right now, and I'm going to watch a lot of movies that may change things. But I would assume that Jawan will be my top 10 as the year ends. And right now, I'm giving this film a 10 out of 10. I don't care what you think. You know, and I really hope that you guys go check it out, because I feel Americans or Westerners in particular are afraid of watching films from other countries, not necessarily from India, from other countries, period. Oh, they'll watch the Miyazaki movie, right? That's going to come out in December because it's Miyazaki. they'll watch the Godzilla movie, right? Godzilla -1. But, you know, if Bong Joon-ho makes another Korean film, they'll watch it, right? If Denis Villeneuve suddenly makes another French film, right? Quebec film, he goes back to Quebec after Dune 2, makes a small movie, people will watch it, right? Because he's big now. But before he made Prisoners, no one cared who he was past Quebec. No one cared who he was. But once he made an American movie, oh my God. Okay, yeah, he's one of the greatest living filmmakers working today. No, he was one of the greatest filmmakers working today way before that. Same thing with Rajamouli, right? He made RRR. Oh my God, America went nuts over RRR. Who's watching Ega, right? Who has watched Ega after they watched RRR? Very few Westerners actually actively seeked out Rajamouli's other films before that, right? And if this film starts to pick up in the Western world, people will watch it, but they won't go watch any of Shah Rukh Khan's previous films. Why? Because they're afraid. They're afraid of watching things that are not in the English language. And I think it's a terrible thing. I honestly think it's a terrible thing that people are unwilling to watch things that are not in the English language. Because, as Bong Joon-ho said, if you overcome the 1-inch tall barrier of subtitles, you will really see some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful movies. Right? I'm currently watching all the Japanese Godzilla movies. I've never seen them. Right? Never seen them. I'm watching them and I'm discovering some really pretty cool stuff. So yeah, I highly recommend that you guys go check it out and that you seek out more international films. It's so vital to your film culture. Yes, some American films are great, but there's so much more than that. There's so much more than American cinema waiting for you at your doorstep and at your local theater. And if you want to take a trip to the IMAX this weekend, you think the Nun 2 doesn't look none too good. Go watch Jawan. Go watch Jawan. You will not regret it. All right, that was a pretty long review. I don't even think I'm done saying a lot of things about this movie, but go check it out. Go check out Jawan. Follow the Cosmic Circus on Twitter, Instagram, social media at the Cosmic Circus. Check out thecosmiccircus.com. Hey, I Am Groot 2 is great, and they got everything right. They said Jeffrey Wright was going to show up as a watcher. It was going to premiere in September. All of it was true. So they have a lot of really great exclusive scoop, reviews, news, interviews. So subscribe to the Cosmic Circus YouTube channel. Visit the website and follow them on social media. Thank you so much for watching. I look forward to doing another review like this. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.